I'm James Chow. I'm honoured to introduce Tasmin Little, international concert violinist and China current music contributor. You may remember Tasmin from one of our earliest episodes in which she recalled her visit to China in 1982 with Yehudi Menuhin, one of the great musicians of the 20th century. In her first interview for the China Current, she speaks with Reylon Yount, born in San Francisco and a leading player of the yangqin. Tasmin met Reylon through the City Music Foundation in London, which develops outstanding professional musicians early in their careers. This is their conversation.
I would love you just to describe a little bit about the instrument. And first of all, how do you pronounce it?
It's pronounced yangqin, and it's also called the Chinese hammered dulcimer. When I first encountered it, I was 7 years old at the school that I went to in San Francisco called the Chinese American International School. And an ensemble of Chinese musicians was performing for our class. And I saw this beautiful trapezoidal instrument being played by an instrumentalist named Yangqin Zhao, who later became my first teacher. I was mesmerized because I couldn't see what her hands were doing behind the surface of the instrument. So I was drawn to it because of its sound, and also because it was a way for me to connect to my Chinese heritage. My mom comes from Beijing in China, and my dad comes from Western Pennsylvania.
I'm really woefully ignorant about this beautiful instrument, and I'd love you to tell me some more about the culture behind the yangqin.
The yangqin is actually a descendant of a Persian instrument called the santur, which looks a little bit smaller than this, and the mallets are held a little bit differently. So the yangqin, we hold our mallets like this, and the santur, it's held between the fingers. The santur traveled across the Silk Road and maritime trade routes to China about 400 years ago. During the Qing dynasty, it began in China as a sort of foreign instrument. Its name, yangqin, originally literally meant foreign instrument. And over the years, as it was incorporated into the Chinese folk ensemble, it was made and remade, and it changed shape. Finally, in the 1950s, it was formally brought into the Chinese National Orchestra, and the name was changed to a different character. So instead of foreign, it's a character yang that means raise.
Rays of sunshine, or to raise yourself up?
To raise one's mallets.
So I love the fact that the instrument has undergone its own development, because the violin started out as an instrument that was not under the chin. It was used as a means to help teach young people how to dance. Tell me about this development of the yangqin.
It really started out in China, disseminated through the countryside as a more rural folk novelty instrument. In the 1950s, when China was sort of consolidating its national identity and building up the Chinese orchestra, they started standardizing their musical systems in line with Western musical systems. So in a way, this foreign instrument was traditionalized as a byproduct of China's modernization.
Wow, that's an amazing story. I love that. I don't know about anybody else, but I'm dying to hear this instrument now. Can you just give us a little demonstration?
This is an excerpt of a very well-known piece called Han Tian Lei, which is Thunder After the Drought.
Reylon, you obviously love the fact that this instrument is unique. It was a foreigner, and now it's a traditional Chinese instrument. It's come home, as it were, but now it's accepted in its own home. Where do you want to take it next?
I want to take it everywhere. I'm so passionate about bringing the yangqin into new musical and cultural spaces. That's what I've had the chance to do my entire life. I would love to be an ambassador for the yangqin and work with people from all genres and all cultures to find those new synergies.
Join Tasmin Little for part 2 of her conversation with Reylon Yount when they explore their shared connections between music and nature.